You just spent 3 hours washing your car. Used to buckets, good soap, clean microfiber towels. You did everything right. But 6 months later, the paint looks dull. Swirls everywhere. The gloss you worked so hard to protect is gone. And you have no idea what happened. You followed all the rules. You watched the videos. You bought the right products. So what went wrong? Here's the truth. Most car owners think they're washing their car safely because they're using the 2-bucket method. But the 2-bucket method is only half the battle. And if you're skipping the other half, you're grinding contamination into your clear coat every single time you wash. The damage is invisible at first, but over weeks and months, it adds up. And by the time you notice it, you've already removed microns of clear coat that you can never get back. Let me explain what's actually happening to your paint. And more importantly, how to stop it before it's too late. Gloss is not a product you apply. It's a condition of the surface. When your paint is smooth at a microscopic level, light reflects evenly. That's what creates that wet, mirror-like shine. But when the surface gets scratched, even at a microscopic level, light scatters. That's what kills gloss. Every single scratch, no matter how small, disrupts the reflection. And when you have thousands of these micro scratches covering your paint, the entire surface looks hazy, dull, flat. No amount of wax or ceramic coating can fix this. Because you're not dealing with a lack of protection. You're dealing with damaged clear coat. This is where most people misunderstand paint care. They think wax and coatings are there to make the car shiny. But that's not how it works. Wax and coatings are sacrificial barriers. They're there to take the abuse instead of your clear coat. But they don't prevent scratches if you're using bad technique. And they definitely don't fix scratches that are already there. A coating on top of scratched paint is just a protected scratch. The damage is permanent. So where does the damage actually come from? It's not the soap. It's not the water. It's the mechanical friction between your wash media and the paint. And more specifically, it's the contamination that gets trapped in that friction. Every time you drag a wash mitt across your paint, you're moving particles, dust, dirt, brake dust, road grime, pollen. If those particles aren't removed before you start scrubbing, they act like sandpaper. And the 2-bucket method alone doesn't remove them. Let me show you what I mean. I took 2 identical black panels. Same paint, same condition. I washed one panel using a proper pre-wash and decontamination process. The other panel I washed using just 2 buckets and a mitt. Same soap, same technique, same pressure. After 12 washes, the difference was undeniable. The panel without pre-wash had visible marring under direct light, hazy reflection, loss of depth. The panel with pre-wash looked almost untouched. Same number of washes, same products. The only difference was the process. And this isn't a one-time fluke. I've repeated this test on customer cars. Daily drivers that come in every month for maintenance washes. The ones where we skip pre-wash because the owner wants to save time, they need paint correction within a year. The ones where we do a full decontamination every time, still glossy 3 years later. The data is clear. The process matters more than the products. But here's the problem. The car wash industry doesn't want you to know this. Automatic car washes are built for speed and volume. They don't pre-rinse properly. They don't decontaminate. They recycle dirty water, and they use brushes or cloth that trap contamination from every car that went through before yours. Every single pass of those brushes is grinding someone else's dirt into your paint, and the damage is catastrophic. I've seen cars with less than 10,000 miles that look like they've been through a decade of abuse. All because the owner used a tunnel wash twice a month. Touchless washes aren't much better. The chemicals they use are strong enough to strip wax and coatings. And because there's no mechanical agitation, they rely on harsh alkaline cleaners to dissolve dirt. That might sound safer, but those chemicals etch paint over time. They dry out rubber seals. They damage trim. And they still don't remove bonded contamination. So you're left with a clean-looking car that's chemically damaged and still contaminated at the microscopic level. Even professional detailers get this wrong. Fast detail shops that promise a wash and wax in 30 minutes are cutting corners. They're not doing proper drying. They're rushing through the process to maximize profit, and the customer has no idea they're paying for damage, because it doesn't show up immediately. It shows up 6 months later when the paint looks worse than before. They started paying for detailing. This is where the myths start to pile up. Most people think washing your car frequently is bad for the paint. They think the more you wash, the more you wear down the clear coat. But that's backwards. Washing frequently is actually safer, as long as you're doing it correctly. Because the less contamination you allow to build up, the less abrasive each wash becomes. The problem isn't frequency, it's technique. Then there's the pressure washer myth. People are terrified of pressure washers because someone told them high pressure damages paint. But paint is incredibly durable. Factory clear coat can handle thousands of psi. What damages paint is forcing contamination across the surface. A pressure washer used correctly during pre-wash actually protects your paint by removing loose dirt before you ever touch it with a mitt. The danger isn't the pressure. It's using a pressure washer with a 0-degree nozzle at point-blank range, or using it to substitute for proper contact washing. And then there's ceramic coating. The biggest myth in the industry. People think ceramic coating makes their paint immune to damage. That once it's coated, they can wash it however they want. This is completely false. Ceramic coatings are hard, they're hydrophobic, they make the paint easier to clean, but they don't prevent scratches from bad technique. If you're grinding dirt into a ceramic-coated panel, you're still scratching the coating, and once the coating is marred, it loses its properties. You're left with an expensive damaged coating instead of an expensive intact one. Here's what's really happening at the microscopic level. When you spray your car with water and immediately start scrubbing with a mitt, you're moving contamination. That contamination has sharp edges. It's harder than your clear coat, and every time you drag it across the paint, it digs a microscopic trench. One pass might create 10 scratches. 10 washes create 100. A year of washing creates thousands. And this is the part nobody explains. The damage compounds. Because once your clear coat is scratched, it becomes rougher. And a rough surface traps more contamination, which means the next wash creates even more scratches, and the next wash after that is even worse. You're caught in a cycle of accelerating damage, and the only way out is paint correction, which removes clear coat, which makes your paint thinner, which makes it more vulnerable to future damage, and eventually you run out of clear coat to correct. So how do you know if this is happening to your car? There are warning signs. Run your hand across your paint after a wash. If it feels rough, you have bonded contamination. That's brake dust, industrial fallout, and tar that's embedded in the clear coat. If you see swirls under direct sunlight or LED light, you have micro-mooring from wash-induced scratches. If your paint used to be glossy and now looks flat, you've lost surface smoothness. And if your rinse water is dirty even after a fresh wash, you're not removing contamination properly. Some cars are more at risk than others. Dark paint shows damage faster because light reveals every imperfection. Soft paint, like Japanese and German, factory clear, scratches easier than hard American clear. If you live in a dusty environment or park near a construction site, you're dealing with higher contamination loads. And if you have paint protection, film, or a wrap, improper washing can cause lifting, staining, and permanent hazing that no amount of correction can fix. Here's the fix, and it's simpler than you think. Before you touch your car with a mitt, you need to pre-wash. Use a foam cannon or pump sprayer to apply a pre-wash solution that breaks down dirt and lubricates the surface. Let it dwell. This loosens contamination without mechanical friction. Then rinse thoroughly with a pressure washer using a 40-degree nozzle. This removes the bulk of the dirt before you ever make contact. Now, you can use your 2-bucket method safely. 1 bucket with soap, 1 bucket with clean water for rinsing your mitt. Use a high-quality pH-neutral soap designed for clear coat, not dish soap, not household cleaners. And use a plush microfiber MIT with long fibers that lift dirt away from the paint instead of dragging it across. Wash in straight lines, not circles. Work panel by panel. Rinse your mitt after every panel. Drying is just as critical. Don't use an old towel. Don't let the car air dry. Use a clean microfiber drying towel with proper technique. Pat and blot. Don't drag. Or use a filtered air blower to remove water without any contact at all. This eliminates the risk of drying-induced scratches completely. And here's the step most people skip. Decontamination. Even with perfect wash technique, your paint will accumulate bonded contamination over time. You need to remove it with a clay bar, clay mitt, or chemical decontamination spray every few months. This restores the smoothness of the surface and prevents that contamination from turning into scratches during your next wash. After decontamination, apply a layer of protection, wax, sealant, or ceramic coating. This creates a sacrificial barrier that takes the abuse instead of your clear coat. And it makes the next wash easier because dirt doesn't bond as strongly to a protected surface. Let's talk about cost. A proper wash setup costs maybe $200. Foam cannon, good soap, quality mitts and towels, clay bar, protection. That's it. Compare that to paint correction. A single-stage correction starts around $500. A multi-stage correction can run $1,500 or more. And if your clear coat is too damaged to correct safely, you're looking at a full thousands of dollars. All because you skipped a $10 foam cannon and a 15-minute pre-wash. The math is obvious. Prevention is cheaper than correction. And prevention is easier than correction. You don't need expensive products. You don't need professional-grade equipment. You just need the right process. Technique over products. Process over price. That's the formula. Here's the takeaway. The 2-bucket method is not enough. It never was. It's a starting point, not a complete system. If you're not pre-washing, you're still scratching your paint. If you're not decontaminating, you're building up abrasive contamination. And if you're not protecting, you're leaving your clear coat exposed. The good news is that fixing this doesn't require a complete overhaul. It just requires adding a few steps that take an extra 15 minutes per wash. Stop trusting shortcuts. Stop believing that expensive products make up for bad technique. And stop thinking that because your car looks clean, it's being cared for correctly. Clean and undamaged are not the same thing. So here's my question for you. How are you washing your car right now? Are you or are you relying on 2 buckets and hope? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if this video just changed the way you think about car washing, hit that like button and subscribe because next week, I'm breaking down why your ceramic coating failed in less than a year and what the installer didn't tell you. Your paint is worth protecting, and now you know how to actually do it.